The blessing of divine service is a great privilege. But remember always that your first service, the greatest service that can possibly exist, is the complete acknowledgment and acceptance of your mighty I Am Presence, the mighty light within and above you. I wish you all to remember especially what I am about to say on service, for it is one of the most misunderstood subjects. Many people consider various things as service which in reality are not service at all, but mere slavery to the human creation of themselves or others. The performance of physical acts for gratifying and satisfying of the limitations of the human self is not service. Never was and never will be. That is slavery to human creation and the treadmill of mankind's limitations. Please clear your minds once and for all time completely of that idea as a concept of service. I tell you frankly and truly, it is not. One of the ascended Lady Masters has said, "The first service for any of mankind is praise and adoration of the God Self, the great Master within each individual. In thus fixing the attention of the outer mind on the only giver of anything good we can ever receive, it raises the outer mind into the full acceptance of the supreme conquering power, anchored within the human form which, after all, is divine. If, in man's service to man, he fail to hold his attention fixed on the supreme source of love, wisdom, and power, then he has failed in that service to a large degree. If in the quest of things in the outer senses, he becomes so occupied that the conscious attention becomes fixed on the manifestation instead of the supreme presence that produces it, then again he has missed the mark. Again, if in man's great desire to serve, the overwhelming desire to serve his fellow man causes him to neglect to keep his attention fixed on the supreme producer, then that service too has failed to a large degree. The only true service is in holding the attention and acceptance so firmly fixed upon the great Master within, the only producer, that the outer mind becomes so filled with the inner presence that naturally each activity of the day becomes, without considering it, the perfect divine service of the moment. Then the great Master within, the mighty I Am Presence, is always conducting the outer activity until the entire action becomes perfection expressed. The outer self, until fully awakened, has periods in which it unknowingly wants to strut its vanity and abilities over its fellow men. This always invites a shock of some kind to shake up the outer self until it becomes aware of what it is doing. Then it wildly looks about for its source of power, which it has either forgotten or willfully pushed aside. Or in our compulsory choice and the use of the free will, this great Master within will not intrude itself unless welcomed and invited joyously to do so. I say joyously because the more joy we can put into the acceptance of the mighty indwelling power the quicker manifestation follows. Our acceptance is a command which must be obeyed. It cannot be denied. The attention and acceptance must be held long enough, firmly enough, and steadily enough until the shell of the outer self is completely shorn of the idea that it has any power of its own. The outer mind cannot argue against the fact that all the energy it uses comes from the great presence within, no matter how that energy is applied. Never let any desire for service deprive you of the needed time, undivided, to fix your attention and acceptance on your great Master within, knowing then that you will naturally give the right service and do the right thing. This is the law of true divine service, which says forever to the personal self, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me." This is the whole of the law applied. The personal self has absolutely nothing of its own, for it comes into embodiment without even clothes, and unless the physical body is illumined and raised, it passes through so-called death and leaves even the body behind. So the personal self really owns nothing. It cannot deny the fact that all it has is loaned to it by the great Master Presence, no matter how much it misuses the marvelous gifts of life. Keep your attention to the heights. The light and the struggle of the outer self will soon cease. You will find yourselves steadily rising into that glorified ascended state where the joy of divine service so far transcends earthly comprehension that there are no words to describe it. Footnote: this instruction concerning service was originally given forth by one of the Lady Masters, also known as Nada, who raised her body 2,700 years ago and who does very transcendent work for the humanity of this earth, as well as a greater work which she does in very much higher spheres. It was Saint Germain's request that it be put into the magic presence at this point, for he gives it to all his students, and has placed it here that everyone who reads this book may have the benefit of her radiation, as well as his own, and profit thereby.